I'm wishing something would. Do. I'm wishing something would. Y'all heard that? Microphone working a little too good today. Oh, I want to turn it down a little bit. I'm gonna need the mouse towards the end because I gotta click on that link. What? Yeah, but you can stand click. Whatever, anybody trying to do all that. All right, can y'all hear me out there on the interwebs?
Yeah,
Can.
we can hear you.
Pretty loud in here. Good. All right, this week's gonna be part 3 of what we've been talking about. But first, the rules. So raise your hand to ask a question, wait to be called on before you answer, because there are hands raised in the room as well as online. Please keep your question or comment on track with today's lesson. You're going to have 60 seconds to answer the question or make your statement. If you go past 60 seconds, Caleb will mute you. Remember, it's not personal. It's just to give enough time to finish the lesson. The lessons are recorded and must be kept within a certain amount of time. The lesson is mixed with discussion to help build one another up. Please, no one person abuse that time. Those that are in the room, please use your microphone to speak. You will also have 60 seconds to answer the question or make a statement. All comments or commentary in the room will be limited to 20 seconds, especially those in the front of the room wearing yellow. All right, appreciate you. 19 and a half. All right, so again, take the time to explain the lessons. This lesson and any lesson thereafter, they're not based on any one individual, either in the assembly locally or abroad. The lessons were not developed by myself alone. Yes, the Father has something, if not all, to do with them. If the lessons hit certain points that you feel or believe have something to do with you, all praise to the Father. Take the knowledge and apply the solution to your life. Do not take anything personal to the point that you miss the message that is being given to help solidify your salvation. However, if the shoe fits, please wear it. All right, so again, what we'll be talking about this month, I don't stress out. I poke my chest out. Weight on my shoulders brings the best out. Get it right or you will get left out. All right, so recap what we talked about the last couple of weeks. All right, being stressed out and having issues with your confidence negatively impacts a man's ability to perform his basic functions. We summed up those basic functions into these 3 categories: being able to provide, to guard, and to lead, and all of which require sound or wise decision making. Healthy confidence is required to perform and make wise decisions. We can't be afraid or lack confidence to do what's right, even if what is right is not what's popular. Healthy confidence comes from placing our confidence in Yahuwah. Unhealthy confidence, often referred to as pride or arrogance, comes from getting confident in our own ability, like we have all the answers and succeeded without Yahuwah. Healthy sense of confidence reduces stress from the outside world, gives the confidence to make difficult or unpopular decisions, helps us to maintain our composure when others test us verbally. It also makes us more effective leaders because people are more likely to follow someone that is confident. A healthy sense of confidence, again, comes from knowing who the source of that confidence is. Unhealthy confidence or unhealthy pride, we talked about at the end of last week. Again, how do we respond when our spouses, when we're upset? Are we determined to prove ourselves right? How many times have we reacted out of pride, right? Not a good thing. How many times have we had difficulty admitting when we were wrong? Difficulty going back and apologizing. That's definitely unhealthy pride. How many of us are able to recognize when we are in above our heads and can seek counsel and guidance, either through prayer or through others? If you're able to do that, that would have having healthy confidence. Those that are willing to stand by the consequences of our righteous decisions, that's going to require that healthy confidence. People that are people pleasers to the point that they're willing to compromise your personal standards to make others happy. Right? That's lacking confidence. That's not good. How many of us are easily triggered by words, either by what that person said or triggered by who said it, right? They get so full of ourselves, you can't talk to me that way, even if they're telling you Yah's honest truth, right? You should be able to take the truth no matter who it comes from. Again, we also talked about the importance of character over being based on others' opinions. Your character is more important than other people's opinion of you. Your character is your foundation. We talked about some takeaways for the sisters. We will be mindful to be his peace when he comes home, give him a few moments to unwind, offer him words of encouragement, let him know how excited you are that he's home. We know that the man that's worth having wants you to live a stress-free life. He wants to know what's bothering you, but just give him some time to decompress from the outside stress so he's able to handle the stress that's on the home front. Remember, those that are single, you want to be mindful of the man you're desiring, whether or not they have the proper stress management skills, and are they of solid character. And what that man has on the inside is far more important than what they're displaying on the outside, right? This one I just added this week. Sisters, do we want to be led by a man that lacks confidence? Most people should be saying no. No, shake a head or something. All right, here we go. I see some head shaking. All right. I don't need an answer out loud for this one. Is it beneficial for you to have a man that you can control or will not tell you no? Is that truly beneficial? Might seem to make your life easier in the short run, but that's not what you desire in a man, right? All right. Just want to get that out there. Oh, no. I'll tell you no in a heartbeat. No problems. All right. Today's lesson. Again, these are the themes. Don't stress out. Poke my chest out. Today is that the weight on my shoulders brings the best out. All right. So we got two theories that I came across while putting this together. First one was time under tension. The second one was titled it struggle time. All right, a little pretest before we start the class. These two titles or theories, can any one or two of you explain in your own words what these theories might mean? Mindful again, there's no wrong answers. Just want to know what you guys think when those two phrases come to mind. You can pick both of them or one of them, or it's the other. Y'all under some tension right now, apparently. Oh, great. You came in late. Perfect. Time under tension or struggle time. What do either of those two things mean to you? You didn't bring enough gum for the whole class, so now you're in trouble. There's no wrong answers. Just if you just came in, you literally just saw these things. What came to mind? I got you back.
When I looked at the first one, I thought it would be more range like tension over time, like there's like something you gotta do, but only a certain amount of time, like a test. Okay. Something like that.
Good. Trying to get something done within a certain amount of time. Okay. Again, no wrong answers. Go ahead, Aki.
I'm going to go with the second one. Struggle time is when you don't see things going your way, and you just have to have the patience to endure.
The patience to endure. I like that. Good. All right. Both of those are correct answers, and we'll go with the overall theme, but not exactly what I had in mind when I came up with these two, but they'll keep what they said in mind because they're definitely accurate. All right. All right. Time under tension. This particular theory has to do with working out. All right. No, don't be saying nothing now. And you're going to say it loud so I can hear it. Like, at least whisper. Yeah, exactly. That's why I got my good clothes on today, because y'all ain't treat Unc right last week. All right. So in order for muscles to grow, it must be put under stress and broken, right? As the fibers heal, they'll grow back stronger. But that breaking point occurs due to tension or stress, right? Which we were talking about this month. Muscle growth is maximized by exercising to failure. That's the point in time where the muscles can bear no more tension or stress, right? The only way to get your best or your strongest is to carry the burden of that weight on your shoulders for as long as possible, right? So there's two different workout methods, right? You can go heavy weights and do that curl, that bench press for a short amount of time, right? Or you can go a lighter weight and just try to do it as many times as you can, right? But if you pick a lower weight that you can do 25 times, right? The first 10 are just a waste. There's no tension. It's easy for you, right? It's not until you struggle at rep 25, 26, maybe get an assist on that last rep. That's when you get to the point. But whether you choose to do a lot of reps or choose to go heavy, is all about that time under tension, right? That's how stuff gets built. No tension, no muscle growth. And of course, that growth we know can be in other areas other than just muscle, right? All right, struggle time. This was a study that was done comparing the performance of algebra students in Japan to the performance of algebra students in America? Yeah, we know Japan won, but let's figure out how they won and why. All right. The study showed that the biggest difference was in the teaching style. The Japanese teachers put their students in situations where they had to actively struggle for 40% of the lesson. The students didn't have help. The answers weren't given to them. They forced the students to figure it out on their own. In fact, they found that they even told the students they had the wrong answer even when they didn't, to the point that the student had to still prove why they were right. I know I'm right. I got to tell you why. So all the 40% of the work is done by the students themselves. Right? Definitely Japanese, right? All right. So, we got a question. Your car, y'all go ahead.
Low? No, I do not. I do not have a question. I apologize.
Okay. No, no worries. It's all good. All right. Actually, I want you to raise your hand and answer this next question. Again, there's no wrong answers. Take a guess. How long were the American students made to actively struggle? What percentage of the time? 2%. I specifically said, Yakaria, this is your chance to raise your hand again. When I ask y'all to talk, y'all don't want to talk. Y'all go, Yakaria.
My Ish said 10%, so I'm gonna go with his answer.
All right, 10%. Who else has a hand up there? Okay, all right. In the room, what do y'all think? If y'all get quiet on me now, I'm gonna flip a table like Mashiach.
2%.
2%. Yahushan, what you got?
0.
0. Oh, come on, man. We ain't that bad. As a licensed professional teacher, I want to speak up for teachers here. We're not that bad.
Sorry.
Jeez. Gosh. Now, Amanda, what you got?
I would say at least 20%.
Whew. Now you got too much credit. I love teachers, but we ain't doing all that. The American students were 2%. Ding, ding, ding. A proud public school educated student in the back there. All right. So the American students were only allowed to actively struggle 2% of the time. So is there any wonder why the Japanese outperformed them? Right? It's not that Japanese students are smarter than American students. They just challenge more. So learning, right? And again, when I say learning, I mean comprehension, understanding, be able to apply something, not just regurgitating information. That's not learning, in my personal opinion, right? They only got to the point where they could comprehend, understand, and apply when the students were made to struggle, when nobody came to bail them out, when they had to figure out a way on their own. They had to carry that burden on their own shoulders, right? And we're too quick to bail each other out. It's okay to struggle, right? All right, so let's look at some examples of people having to go through and bear the struggle, right? 1 Samuel 17, 32 through 37. Dawood said to Shaul, "Let no man's heart fail because of him," speaking Goliath, wherever. "Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine." And Shaul said to Dawood, "You are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth. He has been a man of war from his youth." But Dawood said to Shaul, "Your servant used to keep sheep for his father. And where there came a lion or a bear and took a lamb from the flock, I went after him and struck him and delivered it out of his mouth. And if he rose against me, I caught him by his beard and struck him and killed him. Your servant has struck down both lions and bears, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be like one of them, for he has defied the armies of the living Elohim." And Dawood said, "Yahuwah, who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear, will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." And Shaul said to Dawood, "Go, and Yahuwah be with you." Everybody familiar with this story, right? All right. So in Dawood's mind, this battle against the Philistine was no different from any other battle that he had already won. But he had to have battles that he'd won previously to have that confidence in this one, right? So when the lion came and the bear came and took the lamb from the flock, he called on his brothers and they came to help him. No, right? He called on his dad. His dad came to help him. He had to go deal with it himself, right? And I'm venture to say that it wasn't always an easy thing to do, right? Probably took about 40% of some effort on this part, right? Looked a little more than that 2%. Had to put some time in to get these animals back, right? So his experience with the lion and the bear gave him the confidence that he could win. So back to the gym example, right? When you go to the gym, your expectation isn't to go lift lighter weights, right? It's to lift more, or at least what you did last time, right? So you're used to a certain expectation of what you're going to do. You want to be able to repeat what you've done. It's that time under tension. It gets more and more and more. You're not going to have that same amount of tension if you're using less weight the following week, right? Like a comment said in the room, under 20 seconds, unless you're feeling lazy, right? Is lazy one of the characters we were talking about at any point this month? It's probably not a good characteristic to have, is laziness, right? So you won't get that same production when you're being lazy, right? But let's be honest, all of us have been there, right? We've all had a situation, I just don't want to go through this right now. I don't want to bear this. I am not in the mood for this. But does that get us off the hook? We got to get past the laziness, right? All right. So that time that you spent yesterday gives you the confidence to face today's challenges. But you only gain today's challenges confidence based on what you've gone through. You can't get to that point of your ultimate, your best, if you've never gone through anything. It's part of the process, and steps can't be skipped. When you skip steps, you're not cheating anybody but yourself. Because when you ultimately need that skill, that endurance, you need that stamina, that time and attention, you're not going to have it. It's not going to be there when you want it. But also, notice who was his confidence in? Yahuwah, right? He didn't say, I did this all by myself. He knew that if Yahuwah had delivered him before, there was a before, then Yahuwah will deliver him again. But he had to have those prior experiences before. The first time you go to the gym, you're not going to put a whole bunch of weight on the rack and think it's going to work, right? You got to build yourself up. Build yourself up, right? Start with the bar. I mean, honestly, speaking of being lazy, that's why I skipped the gym for a lot of years. Because you go in the gym, you walk in the gym, right? And you see that brother over there with the 225, you got the 2 plates on, just benching away, right? I ain't doing all that. Like, I can't do that just yet, right? But because in my mind, that's where he started. He's already there. I'm not thinking of the work that he put in to get to that point, right? And I was younger, much younger back then, right? Stop it. All right, let's take another look. Acts 9:32-35. Now, as Kepha went here and there among them all, he came down to the set-apart ones who lived in Lydda. There he found a man named Ananias, bedridden for 8 years, who was paralyzed. And he said to him, Yahushua heals you, rise and make your bed. And immediately he rose. And all the residents of Lydda and Sharon saw him, and they turned to Yahuwah. What the heck was funny? All right. I knew what was going on. It wasn't that funny. He threw me off for a minute. All right. So again, he was under stress and bedridden for how many years? It's a pretty long time, right? How many of us can go through a situation that's stressing us out for 8 years? Somebody has done it, right? Yahushua, what you got?
Yeah, actually, I went through a situation. I broke my disc in my lower back, and it was on my nerve. For 8 years, I was misdiagnosed with that pain. So I went through that kind of stress, and it's crazy. Yeah.
All right, so that wasn't something easy to endure, correct? Okay.
Not.
No, go put him back on.
Yeah, no, not at all. That was the biggest test of my life so far, for sure.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Stay with me.
Yep.
Over the 8 years, did you feel that, let's say year 1 through 6, eventually it did get better, right? 1 through 6, did it get worse over time or better?
Well, I had two surgeries, so the first. No, after the surgery, I got, but the 8 years I was in maximum pain. But then I had the surgery, and I didn't rehab it properly, and then the rest of my disc broke and went into my nerve again. So I had to have another surgery to remove that. So until I was operated on, it was just trying to stay alive, basically, with that kind of pain.
Would you say that the situation was stressful mentally and physically?
The hardest, a lot of people didn't understand like the mental aspect of it. So because it's an injury that was inside, people couldn't see, something like I didn't lose my arm or something, right? Because it was inside. So that was the hardest part, and mentally was the part that took a lot of time after to recover from that as well too. The mental stress, because you couldn't do things that you used to do. You were paralyzed. It was a tough one, but I think I went through that because Father Yahuwah showed me through that injury a lot of who my friends were, who wasn't around, and just.
Toda, Aki, appreciate you. And Toda, y'all for letting him go a little bit longer than his minute. I appreciate y'all. I did see another hand go up though. Maury Dawood, what you got?
It's been dealing with the loss of my father.
Okay, so you would say that's a mental hurdle?
Yes, it is.
Would you describe that as something that's continuous, or it has flashes where you think you're okay and then it comes back?
The flashes.
And how long you say you've been dealing with this?
My dad passed away in 2017, and it's been since then. Yeah.
Okay. Appreciate you sharing that, Aki. All right, so let's go back to here and Acts. He had to bear that for 8 years. That's not an easy amount of time, right? That's a lot of time under tension, right? So again, we talked about this. How many would have just been so stressed out that we just gave up, right? But again, if he doesn't make it through these 8 years, then the best can't come out. He's not going to get the opportunity. Because what happens when he bears the stress? Let's look at verse 35. That's the answer right there. Whose hand is up? Yolanda, put your hand up. Go ahead. We got you. It's your turn.
I was answering your question, Moray. You build up muscles that you weren't using before, and you're able to stand the test of whatever else impedes on that muscle. I yield.
Toda. Right. Listen, stay here in Acts. So because he was able to endure, and Yahusha acted on his behalf, what ultimately happened? The answer's in verse 35. Now, Amanda, go ahead.
Shalom, Maury. They turned to Abba Yahuwah.
All right. So if they had not seen this man be healed by the Mashiach, are they going to turn? Probably not, right? So because he endured, because he went through, he ultimately got to the best part. But if he's not able to endure, then the Mashiach can't move on his behalf. And I'm going to share that story right now. All right. So again, that's the answer. They all end up believing because this one person was able to bear and put through that stress for 8 years. Let's look at Mark 10, 29 to 31. Yahushua said, "Truly I say to you, that there's no one who has left house or brothers or sisters or mother or father or children or lands for my sake, as well as the good news, who will not receive 100-fold now in this time. Houses and sisters and brothers and mothers and children and lands with persecutions, and this age to come eternal life. Many who are first will be last, and the last shall be first," right? So, not a rhetorical question. What does he think? Some of these things that we have to give up, or that he says can give up? Because not all of us has to give up all these things, so misquote me on that. But in this example he gave, what did they give up? Don't do trick questions. And I personally put batteries in those microphones with these bare hands so that y'all could use them. Somebody turn one on. Now, Mana.
Shalom. So, they gave up brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and children and lands to follow him.
So what will they receive 100-fold of?
Eternal life.
It would be great if it was in the microphone.
Ashley said eternal life, Maury.
Ken, that's one thing.
Houses and brothers and sisters and
So
mothers and
what you're
children
willing,
and lands.
exactly what you have to give up. He's faithful. He's going to give it back to you, right? But you got to be willing to give it up. Say, add it to the microphone.
It's the same thing that Job, what happened to Job.
Hmm?
And then when he endured, and then he got a beautiful Isha, and children, land, money.
Hmm?
Let that old one go.
But you're not going to get anything if you're not willing to have that time under tension, right? It takes that time under tension. It takes that time under stress. You can't expect a 2% stress and get a 100-fold return. It's not going to happen. All right, again, you got the 100-fold return. And I'm going to add a little bit of, what do you say, the teachings of Canaan? It's going to be the teachings of me. So in order for you to be your best man, again, this is my personal belief, I believe that it's necessary to have a period of independence in your life. And again, the message is to the brothers. You got to leave mom and dad's house. Leave your hometown for a little bit. Struggle a little while. Feel that burden, that weight on your shoulders all by yourself for a little while. It's necessary. It's necessary. If you want to get to your ultimate self, you're going to have to go through that period, that struggle period, where you can't just go down the street and say, Mom, I need this. Dad, can you give me that? Nope. Got to work it out yourself. That's important for the development of a man. All right. Look at Mark 10:46-51. They came to Jericho, and as he was leaving with his disciples and a great crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind beggar, the son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside. And when he heard that was Yahushua of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Yahushua, son of Dawood, have mercy on me. And many rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he cried out all the more, Son of Dawood, have mercy on me. And Yahushua stopped and said, call him. And they called the blind man, saying to him, take heart, get up, he's calling you. And throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and came to Yahushua. Yahushua said to him, what do you want me to do for you? And the blind man said to him, Rabbi, let me recover my sight. And Yahushua said to him, go your way, your belief has made you well. And immediately he recovered his sight and followed him on the way. Again, not a story we ain't heard of before, right? But he had to bear that burden in order for this to happen. He's being shunned, he's hushed, right? He has to have the years of sacrifice without his sight. But the more they told him to be quiet, the more he cried out. He didn't worry about what they had to say. He didn't say, oh, well, they're talking about me. Let me just listen to what they got to say, right? He had to stand up. It's like this, if the worst that could happen to me is what they got to say, I don't care. I got to accomplish my goal. I got to accomplish my mission. This is what I need. He didn't hold back. It actually spurred him on, right? So sometimes what you're going through, instead of looking at it as a detriment, use it as the impetus you need to actually get you to the next step. See it for what it is, right? It's not to destroy you. He doesn't give you things in order to destroy you. He does it to build you up, right? You break muscle, why? So that it can repair itself, so you can build it. You can't build without breaking first. You can't skip that process, right? Mark 5:25-33. There was a woman. Sisters, I didn't leave y'all out this week. How about that? There was a woman who had a discharge of blood for 12 years. That's bigger than 8, right? See, look what I did for y'all. See? All right. And who has suffered much under many physicians. She had spent all that she had and was no better, but actually grew worse. She had heard the reports about Yahusha and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his garment. For she said, if I even touch his garments, I'll be made well. And immediately the flow of blood dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. And Yahusha, perceiving in himself that power had gone out from him, immediately turned about in the crowd and said, who touched my garments? And his disciples said to him, man, we got to change the 20-second rule to like 2.5. And the disciples said to him, you see the crowd pressing around you, and yet you say, who touched me? And he looked around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling and fell down before him and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, daughter, your belief has made you well. Go in shalom and be healed of your disease, right? A story that we're all familiar with. She was struggling with something though, right? Just a little something. He's joking around. Yeah, she was leaking, right? But think about what that was back in their day. Let's put it in context though. If you got an issue of blood now for 12, it's no big deal, right? It's nothing you want, but you can still function. You can still come to assembly. You can still go to work if you need to, right? Because we have things that are in place that can deal with that a lot better than they did back then, right? When you're dealing with those back then, they had stuff for it, but think about how many things you were not allowed to participate in during that time. Think about what she had to miss out on, right? For 12 years, that is a lot to endure. That is a lot of time under tension. I would say that's a whole lot of stress, right? Doctor after doctor. Think about also what it says. Her condition was getting worse every time she saw somebody, right? It wasn't getting any better. But in the end, she was healed. She had to endure that, right? One other thing that stood out in this, right? Notice that she touched him boldly, right? Just like we said, we can boldly approach the throne, right? We talked about at the beginning, the very first week, if I'm bold enough to face the throne of the very creator of the universe, what other situation can I not have that same boldness in, right? The boldness is very, very important, extremely important. Also, I wanted to notice that he asked her what happened, who touched me? She didn't try to hide and say, no, it wasn't me, I don't know, it wasn't me, right? She owned up to it. She fell down, she told him the whole truth. Was it easy for her? No, it literally says she did it through fear and trembling. So despite the fear, despite the trembling, you got to tell the truth, even if it ain't what people want to hear. You got to have the confidence in yourself that no matter what the truth is, I'm going to tell it. Part of the situation, right? So how many of us suffer and bear things on our own because we won't tell the truth about what we're dealing with, or we don't want to tell the truth about what we've done to put ourselves in that position in the first place, or we don't want to tell the truth about what we tried that didn't quite work out? I'm not going to put anybody on the spot. No, nobody raise your hand on this one. Some of the people ain't even in the room, right? Maury Dawood, what you got?
Moray, I just wanted to ask, who are you telling that truth to? Because she was talking to the Messiah.
Say that one more time for me.
Who are you telling that truth to? Because she was talking to the Messiah. A lot of times people, myself included, is not always comfortable talking to another person. Some things are just best to take it to the Father in prayer and keep it there.
But if you approach a person with it, you can't hide back at that point. You can't hold back. Unless your expectation is Mashiach's about to come stand in front of you, you chose to go talk to that person. And that person, and it's not about you at that point, that person can't provide the best help for you if they don't know all the information. That's why we're telling the truth. And if someone asks you the truth and they truly want you to help, they're not using it. They're not trying to hold it against you. They need to know exactly what's going on so they can help you through the situation. Because people, and I'll speak for myself. if I go to help a situation, I want to actually have a help. I don't want to put a Band-Aid on it. Of course, because I don't want you coming back for the same thing to me in 3 months. I ain't gonna lie, right? I want to actually fix the problem. But if you leave out information from me, I can't give you the best that I can. I end up putting on a Band-Aid or something that I wanted to just stitch together and heal, right? So that's why we don't want to hold the truth on each other, right? Now, if you just decide to totally just say, I'm not going to bring it to a man, then that's perfectly fine. But if you take that step and say, I want to share this with my brother and request help, we got to be upfront with everybody. We got to be upfront, all right? All right, just a couple closing thoughts. First one being, he can't make a way out of no way, right? We always say he makes a way out of no way. But are we willing to find ourselves in a no way situation? No way, right? Absolutely. You don't want to be in that way, right? Or if you do, you want it to last a day, last a week. The moment you get, you got to get me out of this, Father, right? You want to get out, deliver it as soon as possible. You don't really want to go through it. I'll learn. I swear I'll learn it. You're not really, again, are you trying to learn it, apply it, be able to use it, or you just want to regurgitate it, right? I heard it, but you ain't really learn it until you go through that 40%, right? You got to do the struggle yourself. Nobody can struggle for you.
I was gonna say, yeah, because sometimes we say we want to learn it, which we could learn it, but then the next part is, are you gonna do what you've learned? And that's the other part that he may want you to keep going through it, because he know you now know, but you still have either some type of fear to press through it, or some type of hesitation. So he said, okay, I'll let you keep going through this until at some point you start to show some action towards it.
Think back to something that we talked about before. I talked about it before. The stuff that we go through isn't always about us. I can think of at least 5 situations that were terrible for me to have to go through. But it wasn't about me. It was so that I could help someone else avoid those same situations. Or when I find someone in those situations, I can be a shoulder for them to lean on. But if I didn't really go through those, if I didn't find myself at that bottom point, then I can't be useful to him. None of us are here for ourselves. Not one single person in this room is here just for themselves. I'm just here to esteem the Father. You're here for the praise and worship part of the session. That's not how you esteem him. You esteem him by emptying yourself, going through what you got to go through so that he can be used in your reds, so that we can be a witness for him. If you're not willing to go through that, you're not willing to be used by him. You're not truly willing to esteem him. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's the way it goes. All right, so again, I asked last week or the week before, describe yourself. Who are you, right? And everybody went, I'm a believer. So everybody's a go-through answer, right? Goes for everybody in the room, right? But are we willing to have that belief tested? Are we truly willing to start over from nothing? And what do we do if that test lasts longer than a year? Can we truly be tested for 8 years, 12 years? Don't even change. It's rhetorical. But let's take it back a notch. We ain't got to do 8 years. Let's do 8 days. Be sick for 8 days. Be short of the money you need for 8 days. All right, let's go to the sister. 12 days. Be sick for 12 days. Be 12 days short. The bill due on the 13th. You don't get paid. You got paid on the 1st. Oh, you're a day short. Oh, what you gonna do, right? Woe is me, right? All right, but again, most of us have been dealing with the Most High, whether we knew him by name or not, for a decent amount of time, right? We can do 8 days. You can do 12 days. What about 8 months? What about 8 months? What about 12 months? You find yourself, you're the head of your household. You make 70K a year, light work, easy, no big deal. 70, not 7, 70. If you make 7K a year, you ain't ahead of nothing. I'm sorry. I don't want to tell you. I mean, I hate to be the one to tell you that. You need to go work harder. I don't know what to tell you. All right. All right. So you 70K, you know, it's not too high, not too low, right? All right. You can take care of your family on that, right? Everybody in here can take care of their family on that to some degree. But now you find yourself 8 months with nothing coming in. What you gonna do? You find yourself 12 months. Now, you know what? I don't make 70K. I'm trying to make it on 25 now. But it ain't just me. I got other people depending on me. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Am I gonna compromise my character and gonna do something I know I ain't supposed to do? Are you gonna do that? Hey, you know, we'll talk about that at the table. We'll talk about the table. I'll share the story with the whole room once the microphone goes off. I got a story to tell you. All right. I can't see that based on the print. Whose hand is up? Hey, Shonda Wu, what you got?
Yeah, well, if you're in that situation, if you're making 70K and then all of a sudden you're not, you're just gonna have to adjust. And you know, because that's what that happens. That happens to a lot of people. They 1 year they're making 100 grand. They're like, well, how am I going to do it next year? And you're only making 30, and you have to adjust to that situation and then just keep working harder, and you know, come back again, right? You got to adjust to it. Yeah, you really have no choice, right?
Now, on the surface, I agree with you 1,000%. If it's just me,
yeah,
I can make it on 25 grand easy. But I got kids to feed.
I know.
I got lights to keep on. Grocery bills. 8-year-olds' feet grow like every 5 days, it seems like. You know? And you might be able to adjust, but what if the people in your house don't want to adjust with you?
That's it right there.
Right? That's stress. That's stress.
That's the tick. Papa John's is gone.
That's the ticket, right? But yes, you will have to adjust, and prayerfully, you got a tight-knit group that are willing to make that adjustment with you. But there's some adjustments that you just can't make. Like something you have to feed yourself. You have to keep the lights on. You got to have heat in the winter. Like some things be a lot easier to adjust than others, right? Maury Dawood, what you got?
I just want to say, you know, that adjustment that you're speaking upon is our trust in the Most High. Our flesh, our natural reaction is what's struggling. That stress is our brain because we're so plugged into a system. But when you understand that the Father is your provider, you know, even though we're plugged in this system, some way, somehow, the Father will supply. Because that's what, especially when you're being obedient to what He has asked you to do. He's not going to ask you to do something and then not supply what you need. And we get that understanding out of what we've seen, I believe it was Abraham when he had to sacrifice his son. You know, he didn't have a ram. He had to sacrifice his son. He continued to do what he had to do until the last moment, till the messenger said, don't do it. And the ram was supplied in the bush.
He absolutely will provide you what you need. I cannot promise He will shorten the time that you will be under stress. You will have to endure until the end. There's nothing you can do about it. Now, be mindful of this. A situation where you have to downgrade a little bit, right? And then you think you found a breakthrough. It's like 50-50 on whether it's something you should or shouldn't do, right? That's that gray area. And it works out in your favor. Oh, I made it. That's the breakthrough I wanted. But then you find out that that really wasn't from the Most High. So if you cracked, leaned a little to the left or the right after 6 months for something that wasn't from Him, how long you think the next struggle period gonna be? Probably gonna be a little bit longer. It's probably gonna be a little bit longer, right? So be mindful, right? That's why the overall message of this is your character. because that's what's going to get you through. You have to be able to say, these are my non-negotiables. I won't do that. I will do this. Every single time this happens, I'm going to show up the same way. You got to have that character in you. All right. So when we're at the gym, back to the gym analogy, right? Weight on your shoulders. We often have a partner, right? They'll give us a spot, help us get that weight off our chest, right? They're also there to serve you, to rescue you when you reach that failure point. Now you're on rep number 10, and that joker just ain't going up. You got 9.5, and that 225 is about to fall right on your chest. They're there to rescue you, to get that up off your chest, put on the rack safely, right? So we're in a tough spot. Who's our rescuer? You, right? It's not. I don't do your questions. Not your question, right? But what do we do if the rescue he sends us doesn't look like what we're expecting? Or it requires us to do something that we've never, ever, ever done before. So I'll share a personal story. My initial career, I worked in television for 5 years. Very good living. When I got to Virginia, I wasn't making TV money no more. I've told you a story about Lori Lamar more than me, Dad, giving me rides to work. I was working retail, making $7.50 an hour. I made more than that as a junior in high school. But what do I do for a living now? I don't work at television no more. I do something totally different. And I've been doing that for almost 15 years now, right? But if I said, no, Father, I'm not going to do that. But the person that actually steered me to my job in teaching was somebody I worked with in my retail job. So if I was too proud to go from here to my little $7.50 an hour, I'd never meet that guy. Then what am I doing for the next 15 years? Who the heck knows? Right? You got to be able to take that step, walk out on that water. Come to me. I ain't never walked on water before. I don't know nothing about that. Come to me. Get over here. You gonna get out the boat and walk? You gonna take that step? You never done it before, right? But sometimes what you got to do, take a step you've never taken before. Why? Because at the foundation, like Ox said, you know that Yahuwah is going to keep you. Your trust isn't in yourself. You don't have to worry about, I don't know that skill. I can't do that. I'm not able to do that. I've never done that before. Because you're trusting in yourself. That's when you begin to doubt. But when you trust that he's going to provide for you, then you can take that step out, right?
What if he has us like struggle in the water for a little bit before?
Yeah, you will struggle. It simply says he walked. It didn't say how steady he was out there. He went out there, right? Now, Mana, what you got?
Shalom, Akit. So I just want to make sure I understand this. So we have to be able to step out of our comfort zone, walk by faith, not by sight, and let Abba Yahuwah lead us, and also keep an open mind and to be teachable.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, that doesn't mean that every single time, let's just stick with the financials. That's the example we've been using, right? Every single time he's going to steer you in a totally different direction, right? I could have been selling insurance and went from Aflac to Geico. I could have stayed in the same spot, right? I could have went from ABC to NBC. That could have happened, right? Every time he rescues you doesn't mean he's going to always send you in a different direction. But if he does, you can't let that be the reason that you don't go for it, right? But yes, everything you said was true, sis. All right, any questions or comments? Moray, what you got?
Yes, Moray. I just want the audience to know, we talked about the water and walking on the water as Peter did, but practically looking, that your water or anybody's water could be your age, it could be your lack of education, it could be a number of things that you feel your low self-esteem side that you're focusing on, stop causing you not to move in the direction you need to move in. But you have to, understand, you can't be afraid to challenge yourself. You can't be afraid to let your belief, your amunah, your faith increase, and you're going through your experience. because the Father is progressive. He's very progressive, and we have to be ready to move with that progression and know everything's going to be all right.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it may cause you to actually do some things you never done before, learn some new skills, right? I had to go back to grad school after being out of school for 10, 15 years. First time I had to write that paper, I was nervous as you wouldn't believe. Got an A on it though. Finally had to sit down at that computer and start hitting that keyboard. Knocked it out, right? Any other questions or comments? All right. Where's my mouse? Okay. I got it. All right. So I left you with a verse last week. This time I want to leave you with a video. Let's see if this works. All right. What? Okay. I thought on there. Look. Okay. Oh, let me back up.
And we was a conversation with a friend one day. And we was talking about family and life. And I asked him, how do you see your kid's future? And he said to me, my grandfather walked 10 miles to work every day. My father walked 5. I'm driving a Cadillac. My son is in a Mercedes. He said my grandson will be in a Ferrari. But he said my great-grandson will be walking again. So I asked him, I said, well, why is that? And he said to me, tough times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create tough times. He said to me, many will not understand, but you have to raise warriors. That's what Coach instilled in me, and so many like me. The strength and courage of a warrior.
All right. Let me get out of here. All right. So again, that's where the clip came from. Y'all see the YouTube address. All right. So what's the overall message from that clip that y'all got? Okay.
Green mic, there you go. Yeah. If you don't have to work for it, then you don't know what it means to keep it or how you get it. You don't appreciate it. And so we've lost that over the generations. There was a time when there was what they call a rite of passage, and all the young men would be taken away from their mothers and brought into a certain area to be trained and grew up to learn how to provide and how to survive and how to thrive. We've lost a lot of that by just the conveniences that we have. So yeah, that's why you don't give your children everything. They gotta earn it. If they don't earn it, they don't respect it. It comes too easy. They don't appreciate it. So you gotta have a little struggle.
Now, Yasharoon's a good man. We all the Akeem here are good men. They're good providers, right? So our goal, like he said, is to make our children's life easier, not easy. Because if my boys have it too easy, the people behind them ain't gonna notice like the struggle. But guess what? I don't care what you do for your children, how great you set them up. There will be an area where they're going to struggle. The struggle is inevitable. So you have to get them the skills to get through the struggle. That's your number one priority. It's not comfort. It's not an easy life. It's teach them skills on how to get through the struggle. So They're not intentionally doing it, but strong men tend to create weaker men, and the weaker men create tough times, right? So there's a balance. And again, as we work on our character, we work on our non-negotiables, it's not going to be easy, but the goal is not easy. The goal is just make it a little bit easier, but it's not to avoid the struggle, because the struggle is what makes you. That time and attention is what builds you up, right? We had a comment or a question online, Anki, on the Zoom. Go ahead.
All right, so the question is, some things are not possible and are not worth the stress, right? And for more explanation, basically this person, without going too much into what they said, basically they said they're a night owl, their dad and their grandmother were like that too. They have people that plan things in the morning. Read the whole thing. All right. Question. I was born being a night owl. My dad and grandma were like that too. Now being old and have sickness, getting up early is even harder. I feel ill trying to get up in the morning. People plan important things in the morning and get mad at me because I won't come. The question is, some things are not possible and not worth the stress, right?
And that doesn't mean that you have to go through stress in every situation. There are situations where stress can be avoided, and it's in your best interest to do so. If people aren't considering you in their situations, then you probably don't want to keep dealing with people that are inconsiderate towards you. That doesn't mean that every situation you have to put yourself in a bad spot for the sake of others. So I don't want that to be the message at all. Hope that answers your question. Now, Mana, go ahead.
Hey, Shalom, Aki. I noticed in your video that it's a cycle. You know how the gentleman was talking about different types of cars that everybody would be driving, and in each cycle it just got more and more expensive, and the men got more and more lax. So everything is built on a cycle. So and if you're more and more lax, it's just going to repeat itself, and going right back to the beginning of being, teaching the basics of working for everything that you need, so that way you appreciate it even more. I mean, that's what I noticed in the video.
Okay.
Toda.
Anyone else? My favorite part of the show. All right, what else you want me to say? I yield. The floor is yours, Akivic.
All right, let's prepare our hearts and minds as we close out. Baruch atah Yahuwah melech haolam, Todah rabbah Abiyah. Humbly we yield praise of gratitude and thanksgiving. Once again, grateful for the understanding that has been shared, the milk, the bread, the meat of matters that for our understanding and help us as we continue to strive on this path back to your way. Abba, we understand that we will have to undergo a process of refining and reproving, and that there will be tests, but through it all, Abba, you are forever faithful. And it's not with ill intent, but for the purposes of making us mature and to be a light to others, and that through our test, that we have a testimony to share, and that with it will bring others to you. And so, Abba, we thank you today. We appreciate those who were transparent in all that they have gone through or going through, and that we continue to pray a covering and keeping for them, and that shalom be abundant. And as they go through their process, Abba, that they are encouraged, and that as a collective, as a mishpachah, that we continue to keep them uplifted in prayer. And so, Abba, we thank you today, and as we prepare our hearts and minds for fellowship and to embark in another week, that we could just continually ask for your covering and your keeping, for your hedge of protection, your provision, your favor. And so we say these things and ask these things with belief in your power and your might through Hamashiach Yahusha, Lil to your boy. I mean.